There's a question that has followed me most of my life, one that lingered quietly in the background but grew louder every time I hit a low point or faced a storm. Why does prayer often feel so hard? Why do distractions seem to appear out of nowhere the moment I close my eyes and try to speak with God? If you've ever felt this same struggle, then you're not alone. And what I'm about to share with you may change everything you thought you knew about the power of prayer. My name is Sarah Thompson. I'm a wife, a mother of two, and a high school English teacher living in Cedar Springs, Oregon. On March 3, 2024, something happened that turned my world upside down. For 34 minutes, I was clinically dead. What I saw, heard, and learned in that time shifted not only my understanding of prayer, but my purpose on this earth. This is my story. But more than that, it's a revelation meant for you. It started like any other Monday morning. The air was still, the fog low over the pine trees surrounding our town, and I remember thinking how peaceful it all felt. I had just finished setting up my classroom and was preparing a cup of tea in the teacher's lounge. Nothing about that day felt unusual, until the moment my vision blurred and a strange pressure hit my chest. At first I thought I was simply tired or dehydrated. I brushed it off, but the feeling escalated quickly. My knees gave out. The cup in my hand shattered on the floor. Within seconds, everything went black. The next thing I remember wasn't pain. It was the complete absence of it. No fear, no noise, just stillness, followed by an overwhelming sensation of being lifted out of my body. I know how it sounds. I would have doubted it too had I not lived it. I floated above the chaos, saw my coworkers rushing to my side, heard someone yell for the nurse and another dialing 911. But none of it stirred me. I wasn't scared. I felt held, as though invisible arms had wrapped around me and whispered, "It's okay now." Time didn't feel linear anymore. The hospital, the people, even my own body seemed distant, like a scene from someone else's life. And then I entered what I can only describe as a realm of light. Not the cliché tunnel you've heard about, but something deeper, more dimensional. The air itself seemed alive. Every breath I took filled me with a peace that can't be described in human language. And yet, in that holy silence, I heard a voice, firm, gentle, radiating indescribable authority. It spoke my name, Sarah. Hearing my name spoken like that unraveled me. It wasn't just a sound, it was a knowing, a recognition of my entire existence. The voice, unmistakably divine, didn't just call me, it saw me. Every wound, every question, every ounce of faith and doubt I'd ever carried. He saw it all. And still, he called me closer. "I brought you here," he said, "because there's something you need to see." What followed was a series of visions that shook me to my core. Not of heaven, not of hell, but of earth, of my life, played out in a spiritual dimension. I saw moments I had forgotten, times I had prayed with tears in my eyes, unsure if anyone was even listening. But in this place, I saw what those prayers actually did, the power they carried, the battles they won. I had no idea. None of us do, really. We think our prayers vanish into the air, barely brushing heaven's doors. But what I witnessed showed me otherwise. Each whispered plea, each desperate cry, even the prayers I muttered while folding laundry or driving to work, they mattered. In the spiritual realm, they were like lightning. I saw dark forces tremble when the name of Jesus was spoken with faith. I saw strongholds, massive, towering, blackened structures, collapse from the force of just one believer's genuine prayer. And yet, I also saw why we're so often kept from praying, why we feel tired, distracted, apathetic, because those same dark forces fight to keep us silent. They fear prayer more than anything else. There was one vision I'll never forget. It was a scene from my own kitchen, a Tuesday night when I was overwhelmed and barely managing to hold myself together. I had looked at my children, exhausted from the day, and instead of falling to my knees, I let out a frustrated sigh and ignored the urge to pray. In the spirit, I saw what would have happened if I had prayed, how angels would have been dispatched, how spiritual reinforcements would have fortified my home. But I didn't. And in that gap, the enemy gained ground. That realization broke me. Not from guilt, but from the weight of what we forfeit when we don't pray. But Jesus, standing beside me, wasn't angry. He looked at me with eyes that radiated both truth and love. "I never stopped listening," he said. He showed me how prayer doesn't just protect, it builds. I watched as sincere prayers formed invisible walls of light around my family, my students, and even strangers I had passed in the grocery store. When I had prayed for healing, healing began. When I had prayed for wisdom, direction shifted. When I had prayed for peace, torment was driven away. But the most powerful thing I saw was that prayer transcends time. One of the final visions Jesus gave me was of my grandmother, kneeling in her small room decades earlier, whispering my name in prayer. I had no memory of that moment, but those prayers had followed me, covered me, fought for me. And then he said something that still echoes in my soul. Not one prayer falls to the ground. I came back changed. The hospital room, the sterile lights, the machines, they all returned like a wave crashing into my spirit. But I wasn't the same woman who had collapsed on the floor that morning. I was no longer confused about prayer's value. I now knew. The doctors called it a miracle. They said I shouldn't be alive, that after more than 30 minutes without oxygen, I should have brain damage, memory loss, or worse. But I walked out of that hospital with full clarity. No complications, no lingering symptoms. I walked out with a mission: to tell you, to tell anyone who would listen that your prayers have power, that the enemy wouldn't fight so hard to stop you if they didn't, and most of all, to remind you that you are never praying alone. The weeks after my return felt like learning to walk in a new world with old feet. I would go about my usual routine, packing lunches, preparing lesson plans, attending church, but everything felt charged with new meaning. I could no longer see prayer as optional, nor casual. It was like oxygen to me now, essential, invisible, but undeniably powerful. Every time I walked into my classroom, I would silently pray over each desk. Not elaborate prayers, just real ones. Peace here, protection here, joy here. And slowly I began noticing changes. Students who used to be angry started softening. Tension in the room began lifting. I didn't have to preach or declare anything aloud. The atmosphere was shifting, one whispered prayer at a time. I also began to realize how subtle the enemy's tactics are. Before my experience, I thought spiritual attacks had to be dramatic. Storms, tragedies, crises. But what I saw was far more insidious. The enemy uses distraction like a weapon. Busyness, notifications, doubt, fatigue, all designed to pull our hearts just far enough out of sync so we don't pray. I'd seen in the spirit how a single missed prayer can create a crack, a gap. And when we ignore those urges to pray, those holy nudges, we unknowingly let down our guard. I started treating those nudges like divine assignments. When I thought of someone randomly, I stopped and prayed. When I felt anxious, I prayed. When I felt nothing at all, I still prayed. Because now I knew, prayer isn't driven by emotion, it's fueled by faith. One night, I was lying in bed, and I thought of a colleague I hadn't spoken to in months. I felt this urge to intercede for her, but my flesh resisted. I was tired. It had been a long day, but I remembered what Jesus had shown me, that the prayers we don't pray are often the ones most needed. So I prayed, just a few minutes, just enough to speak life over her situation, even if I didn't know what it was. 2 days later, she called me out of the blue. "I don't know why," she said, "but something lifted off me this week." I knew exactly why. These moments confirmed everything I had seen in that place of light, that nothing is wasted, that our prayers set things in motion long before we ever see the outcome. So pray, even when you feel nothing, especially then. My husband also began to notice a shift in me, not because I was more religious, but because I was more present, more anchored. Prayer does that. It grounds you in the eternal while still living in the temporary. We started praying together again, not just over meals or crises, but over normal things, finances, our kids, our dreams. And as we did, I watched our marriage strengthen in ways I had stopped believing were possible. There had been a quiet distance between us before, not conflict, just drift. But prayer brought intimacy back, not just between us, but with God. And my children? They saw it, they heard it, and soon they began praying in their own ways. Short, honest, imperfect prayers, but powerful nonetheless. I realized then that prayer isn't just something we do. It's something we pass on. There's one more vision I need to tell you about. It happened just before I was brought back. Jesus showed me a gathering of demons, not to scare me, but to teach me. They were angry, frantic, whispering strategies. One of them said, "She's waking up to who she is. We need to distract her." Another replied, "Keep her tired, flood her with tasks, make her believe prayer is ineffective." And that's when it hit me. The intensity of the resistance I'd faced before wasn't random. It was targeted, because hell fears the believer who knows what prayer can do. Jesus looked at me then, not with fear, but with fire in his eyes. "Tell them," he said. "Tell my children they are stronger than they think, that when they pray, even softly, heaven moves and hell shakes." And now I'm telling you, if you've ever felt like your prayers didn't matter, that they bounced off the ceiling or disappeared into the void, I'm here to tell you the truth. They matter more than you know. They are heard, they are felt, they are answered. Not always how or when we expect, but always with purpose. So don't stop praying. Don't wait to feel ready. Don't let guilt or busyness convince you it's too late. It's not. You can start right now, right where you are. A single whispered honest prayer can shift things in your life that months of striving cannot. This is your invitation, not just from me but from the one who saved me, to return to prayer like never before. Your prayers are not small, they're strategic, they're supernatural, and they're needed. If there's one truth I hope you carry with you after hearing my story, it's this: your prayer has power, not because of the volume of your voice or the perfection of your words, but because of the one who hears you. I've seen firsthand what happens in the unseen realm when you simply whisper the name of Jesus. Chains break, darkness flees, angels are mobilized, and hearts, including your own, begin to heal. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. When you pray, you step into a spiritual authority that shakes the very foundations of the enemy's plans. And that's why he fights so hard to keep you silent. So don't stay quiet. Don't believe the lie that your voice is too weak or your faith too small. Jesus didn't bring you here by accident. He's drawing you closer because he wants relationship, not ritual. He wants your heart, not your performance. Start today, even if you've been distant, even if it's been months or years since your last prayer. Begin with one sentence, one moment of honesty. That's all it takes to open heaven over your life. And if you've been praying faithfully, don't stop now. Your consistency is a weapon. Your prayers are building something eternal. If this message stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Share it. Someone you know is on the verge of giving up. Your voice could be the reminder they need. Leave a comment below and tell me how I can pray for you. I read every single one. And if this story gave you clarity, hope, or direction, subscribe to this channel. This isn't just content, it's community. We're walking this journey together, one prayer at a time. And if you're ready to take a step of faith, to say yes to Jesus, not just in word, but in your daily life, follow him. Today, right now. Let this be your turning point. If you're already a believer, I challenge you. Go deeper. Carve out time. Set spiritual alarms. Pray over your family, your job, your dreams. Use your voice, your authority, and watch what God does. We need intercessors. We need prayer warriors who understand the real battle and refuse to sit on the sidelines. Be one of them. Be someone who makes hell nervous when they wake up in the morning. The world needs your prayers. Your family needs your prayers. And whether you feel it or not, you need your prayers. And if you're wondering what to do next, pray with me, right here, right now. Wherever you are, just say his name. Jesus, teach me to pray. Help me see what I couldn't see before. Make me bold. Make me hungry. And don't let me go back to who I was. That's it. You've just activated something far greater than you can imagine. And this is only the beginning. Make prayer your first response, not your last resort. Build your life around the presence of God, and you will never walk in darkness again. Don't forget to subscribe for more messages like this. And if this testimony blessed you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you want to learn more about growing in prayer, about spiritual warfare, about how to hear God clearly, there's more coming. Stay connected. This isn't a one-time moment. It's a journey, a movement, and I'm so thankful you're on it with me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening with an open heart. I don't take it lightly. You are not just a viewer. You're part of this family now, and I pray that every time you return to this space you feel that. You are seen, You are known, and you are deeply loved. I'll be praying for you. Until next time, stay in the presence, stay in the fight, and never stop praying. I'll see you soon.